Welcome back to The Drive Back, the movie podcast where we imitate our favorite thing to do after a movie, which of course is to talk about it on the ride home. I'm Garrett, and as always, I'm joined by my good friend and co-host, Adrian.
Hello, it's me.
It is indeed. And today, we've got another episode for you. We got a show and tell. What is a show and tell, Adrian?
A show and tell is where I've seen a movie, so I ask Garrett to watch it, and then Garrett has seen a movie, and he asks me to watch it. So we both watch a movie for the first time.
Absolutely true. And today you picked one that was one of the ones on my list of the ones I was ashamed that I hadn't seen yet.
Very shocking, actually.
Yeah, so let's go ahead and dive into it with two movies that have nothing in common. So all this and more coming up on The Drive Back. Alrighty, and we're back with two movies that share nothing in common, which seems to be the theme for our show and tells, but this one, you'll see why in just a moment. We are taking a look at the 2001 Planet of the Apes film, directed by Tim Burton, the remake of the classic film, and looking at Inside Out, the Pixar movie from 2015. So, let's start this off on an interesting note. We're going to talk about Planet of the Apes first. So, the first film today is Planet of the Apes, as I said, released in 2001. It was directed by Tim Burton and stars Mark Wahlberg, Tim Roth, and Helena Bonham Carter. In 2029, an Air Force astronaut crash lands on a mysterious planet where evolved talking apes dominate a race of primitive humans. It won 3 Razzie Awards for Worst Remake or Sequel, Worst Supporting Actor for Charlton Heston, and Worst Supporting Actress for Estella Warren. Much deserved. Let's go ahead and get that off the bat. This movie is god-awful. What did you think?
I really liked this movie.
Did you really?
I really did.
All right, I knew this was going to be the best one to talk about first.
No, I think, without getting into spoilers, I think 90% of this, 95% of this movie really struggles. I think it just kind of tries a lot of things that don't really work. A lot of tropes, a lot of, like, obvious sci-fi things that are like, we're gonna explain this to you. But the final scene in this movie elevates it to a cult favorite, I think, for me. I think it has a lot that it basically opens Pandora's box at the end, and when you once you learn about how all the time travel stuff is actually working in this universe, it makes perfect sense. And I really liked it. I thought it was awesome.
I'm still in shock. I thought you were joking about enjoying this movie.
No.
I guess it's no surprise. I hate this movie. Have you seen the original Planet of the Apes?
This is the earliest one I've seen. So I know I've seen the 3 new ones. So
Okay.
is there one before this?
There's the original back from the 60s.
No. This is the earliest one I've seen.
Okay, and we'll dive a little bit more into the differences when we actually start dropping spoilers. But let's go ahead and do so. If you want to watch the movie, I would say don't. Adrian says maybe. It was available on Prime Video. I don't know if that's where you watched it, but it was available if you have Prime subscription.
Yeah.
And dropping a spoiler warning for this movie. I specifically picked this movie because I was very interested to see what you were going to think about it. Because, okay. And for those of you who don't or have not seen my blog yet, I already reviewed this movie a couple of weeks ago because I just watched it in my free time. And okay, well, let's go ahead. Since you're the one that I wanted to show this to, what now that we have the spoiler out of the way, what do you like about the movie?
I liked the way that the apes looked. I thought it was actually really awesome that it wasn't like 1, terrible CGI, or 2, like insane prosthetics. Like it was actually makeup. You could tell because you could see the actors' faces underneath. So I thought that was really cool. The acting, not a huge fan of Mark Wahlberg in this movie. I think it could have been better if you kind of imagine it with any other actor. Like, any other main actor at the time, I think, could have probably carried it better, but I guess, because I think he had just done Rockstar, which I really like as well. So maybe I just like this era of Mark Wahlberg, but not in this one. I don't know.
Okay.
But I felt like he was kind of lacking, and I thought the whole, like, just that whole kind of weird, well, big spoiler. One thing that really threw me off was, like, that weird dry humping scene. Not sure why that had to be in the movie at all. But in positives, I will say the plot made sense to me. I feel like I followed the movie as a whole, and yeah, it's an older movie, 2001, but I don't know. I felt like it had such a charm of, like, maybe it had that charm of a movie so bad that it's interesting, because it seemed like almost every scene I was so encouraged to see, like, oh, that's his ship landing in the battlefield, and who is in there but the ape from the very beginning. Like, there was just so much to visually take in, that, yeah, I don't know, I just thought it was fun.
Okay. I will concede. The one thing that I do think this movie does incredibly well is its makeup. It is
Yeah, that was my first thing.
masterwork.
Yeah.
It's incredible. Even whether or not the actor underneath is doing a good job, the makeup is, and it's among the best parts of the movie.
Who was the girl that played Ari, the main girl?
The main girl, ape or human?
Ape.
That would have been Helena Bonham Carter.
I felt like I recognized her, but I don't recognize the name.
She's in every Tim Burton movie ever. Was his wife for a while. She was the Red Queen in Alice in Wonderland, the live-action one.
Oh, is she
She was in The Crown.
Bellatrix?
Yeah, Bellatrix the Strange.
Okay, gotcha.
I don't know why that's not the first thing that came to my head. But other than that, man, I think my anger for this movie comes from the place of someone who's seen the original. The original 1960s Planet of the Apes with Charlton Heston, which was that, and kind of what I sum it up as in my blog review is this one goes more for spectacle, whereas the first movie, or the original, went for the smarts. Because the original Planet of the Apes was an allegory for race, and it was just incredibly well done. He crash lands on the planet in the original, and the humans are so primitive, they don't speak. They grunt. They act like primates. And so when he talks for the first time, all the apes are like, oh man, what's going on? That's completely thrown away in this movie. All this, humans can just talk for some reason, even though this is supposed to be so far in the future that they're supposed to be like, de-evolutioned or whatever.
So it's not in the future, though. It's a different planet.
True, but the original movie was the same planet so far in the future.
Okay, but that's vastly a different concept.
But it's the original. So
okay,
they chose a worse path for the new one.
Okay, yeah.
And even then, at the end of this new one, it's not. He doesn't go back home at the end. He goes to this same planet.
No, he goes back home.
No, it's because if he goes back home, then why was the general in the Lincoln Memorial thing?
So I had to watch a video on this. So the way time travel works in the movie, the way the rift works, is they're inversed timelines. So like our timeline is going left to right, and their timeline is going right to left. So the further in the future you go into the rift, the further into their past you come out. And that's why the monkey in the middle that goes in first comes up later in the movie than he does, because he goes in later, so he comes in earlier to their planet. And so he does go back to Earth, but he goes back in where it's further in their past, so they had a lot of time to grow and evolve, and then they went to Earth. The apes went to Earth, so when he comes back, it is his planet, but it's way, way in the future where it's no longer his reality anymore.
That is so convoluted, and they don't mention a single word of it in the film, so I'm still going to hate on it.
It's just a highbrow film, I guess.
It's really... The first movie is incredibly highbrow. This one is just like... Oh my god, this movie's numbingly bad. That still doesn't excuse how bad the ending is. The original movie The
I
ending
liked
was
the ending.
so shocking because you realized that it was his planet. That's when he finds the Statue of Liberty on
Statue
the
of
beach.
Liberty. I've seen
Yeah,
the scene from it. Yeah.
like that's why it's so much more powerful. This one is doing time travel and all that, and then like the whole reveal of the ape as Lincoln just kind of it's funny that you say you like it. It's considered one of the worst twists in film history, at least from most of what I've read and seen. But let's get away from the ending for a second because it seems to be a contested point. There's the incredible, I mean that sarcastically, that dry humping sequence, like you said, which is one of the most uncomfortable things I've ever seen.
The whole scene felt very comical, which felt interesting for a more serious movie.
Yeah. I mean, so reverting back all the way, because I was talking about the makeup being good. The costume design is also very good in this movie. Specifically, the ape outfits are really good. The human outfits kind of...
Oh, I really liked the general's outfit. Starts with a T, whatever his name was.
Tim Roth's character?
But like he was the general, and he had like the two apes fighting each other on his breastplate.
Oh yeah. I think it's like Thane or something like that.
Thane, that's exactly what it is. Yeah, I thought that was really, really cool. I really liked that. I noticed it. I was like, oh, that's a neat battle outfit. Like that's cool armor.
Yeah, and again, like the costume design for the apes is great. The humans, not so much. Like, what even is Mark Wahlberg wearing half the time? With like, it's just a torn up white outfit.
The spacesuit.
Yeah, but like, why not like grab some armor or something and throw that on, like, and get more costume design out of the movie instead of just here's a tattered white outfit.
Here's what I think is happening right now in this very podcast.
Okay.
I think what's happening is you saw a different interpretation of this story and liked it better, and which was the first version, the 60 whatever film you're talking about.
Okay.
And you're comparing it to that film, whereas I have not seen it. So this is my original source work, and I thought it was pretty good. Yes. So maybe it just comes like if you look at it as its own kind of not interpreting anything that's existed before, maybe it's better than when you compare it.
See, the problem is I'm not comparing the original to this one. I'm comparing this to the original because it is supposed
That's what
to
I'm
be
saying.
A reimagining, a retelling. It doesn't matter. It just does not work. When you watch the original movie, it hits home more often because it's made as an allegory for race and all this stuff, and it's just more cerebral. It makes you think. This one sacrifices that name by making it just a dumb spectacle movie. I mean, obviously there is a deeper level of thinking if you're going to go into conspiracy theories about time travel and the ending, but I mean, this movie just does not do it for me. As a fan of the original trilogy and the newer ones with Andy Serkis, this is just, to me, is just awful.
That's what I'm saying, but that's coming from a perspective of a fan of the original trilogy. So from someone that hasn't seen it, I feel like it was a pretty entertaining film. Like I've seen the newer trilogy, and I am a fan of those. I do like all three of them. I think they're all really good. Rise especially is pretty phenomenal. But yeah, I felt like this was it felt dated. It had a lot of things wrong with it. They tried to bring up race and political systems a couple times, and it was just more like, when they bring it up, you're like, why are you randomly saying a sentence about, like, politics in the middle of this sentence? So that kind of felt weird, but I don't know. I got the story. I felt like it was fun, and the battle scene was pretty cool. Definitely the classic two opponents meet each other on the battlefield while everybody else in the background just, like, pretends to be fighting. So that was pretty funny. Yeah, I don't know. I just feel like it was a fun movie.
All right. Like this is one of the first ones of these we've had in a while.
That I liked?
Yeah. Well, that's demonstrably kind of subpar as like the general consensus. But can we also just talk about the weird love triangle in this movie that seemingly comes out of nowhere?
Yes.
Like, Mark Wahlberg kisses a monkey and then goes over...
Well, he wants to the whole time. There's like a weird sexual tension the entire movie, it feels like.
Oh, yeah. And then the weird moment where he goes up to the human girl played by Estella Warren, who he's had like no interaction with except for like running away from the authorities, and literally just goes up to her, he's like, I have to leave, and then just kisses her for no reason.
No, that was definitely for the like, let's get a kiss on screen between our main actor.
30 seconds earlier, he kissed Monkey Woman. Like that doesn't make any sense. It's so bad.
So I think let me I liked this movie, and that doesn't mean that it's like a 90% film.
Oh no, yeah.
Yeah, like it's definitely got its issues through and through. I just find that I think this would be a super fun time to put on and ask someone, what do you think is going to happen next? And then hear their answer and then play it and watch as every expectation they had of the plot disappear scene by scene.
This would be a great movie for the drinking game. Every time you're like weirded out, or you're like, why would they do that? Oh, here, take a drink.
Anytime you have a question, take a drink. But I understood the plot, and that's not to say like I didn't have questions. The movie is not cohesive. Like, it does not tie a bow on really anything. But there is a through thread. There is a plot. I understood it. For me, I guess, again, I hadn't seen the original trilogy, so I was looking at when this was made. I was looking at it from this perspective of like, okay, it's not going to be the new movies, which I really like. So I guess maybe I was going in with like a pound of salt with it. Like, oh, like let me watch this and see what it was and not judge it against the new ones.
Yeah. And I went into this because I remember seeing it a while ago when I was younger, and I was like, oh, this was fun. And then I completely put it out of my head, and I was like, okay, cool. Well, I'll go ahead and watch it. Because I remember it was always hated on by all the critics and reviewers I'd seen, and I followed, and I was like, it can't be that bad. Like it looks good from the trailer. And then I watched it. So I went in with that more open mind. Like, I wanted it to be better than people were saying. And for me, it's just not.
Yeah, and I don't think it's a great movie. I just think it's got a lot of charm. Like, I definitely am surprised this didn't become a cult classic. Like, I really feel like it has everything going for it to make a cult classic. Like, all the awkward things that people usually tend to fall in love with, people just may not have with this. And I feel like I did. I feel like I got this weird charm from it that I was like, oh, like you're your own little movie and you're your own little idea. How fun. And maybe a lot of other people just didn't get that.
It's also a novelty item because it's a Tim Burton movie that doesn't have Johnny Depp in it, which is like...
I didn't even think about that. Yeah, that is weird.
Everything almost.
But you said it has his wife?
Helena Bonham Carter was Tim Burton's wife for a very long time. I don't think they are anymore. Yeah, this movie again, and don't get us wrong out there. Like, this is why we love movies. This is why they're an art form, because we have differing opinions on them. I'm not telling Adrian he's wrong, and he's not telling me that I'm wrong. That's the glory of it. Just trying to figure out why the opinions.
Interesting.
Are so good. That's the interesting part. So,
but I feel like I do want to jump all the way back to the end because I feel like it made a lot of sense to me. Like, to me, I was like, okay, he's back on his planet, and it is now in the future, and it's evolved, and apes have come here, and apes and humans now live together. Like, I very much got that, but I guess after talking, I can see if you weren't thinking time travel. My brain was thinking time travel the entire time. I was like, okay, like, this is happening. So to me, I was like, oh, like, Interstellar. He ended up way in the future. So yeah, I mean, I thought it added to the movie, to be honest. I thought it added a lot of depth to the film.
All right. I think it's also, for me, it's a sacrifice of what the original movie had intended, because for this one, yeah, it's time travel. It's, he goes back and forth, and it kind of gets rid of what the original was trying to tell with, like, role reversal, right? Like how it was like this, and now it's like this, right? So that one's more poignant than this one. I would say if the original movies didn't exist, this would probably be... No, I'm saying, like, just flat out, if they didn't exist, this would probably be remembered more as, like, a cult classic, like, it's a fun sci-fi movie.
No, but that is what I'm saying because they don't exist to me. I haven't seen them.
No, yeah. So, like,
So that's what I'm saying. Like, if you hadn't seen them, you'd probably think this movie has a lot of charm and is a very unique film.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is why I would full out recommend that you watch the original now.
Me?
Yeah, just to compare it.
Okay.
Because, like, I feel like, especially as a fan of sci-fi, I think that...
I'm surprised this wasn't a franchise fever.
Well, this isn't considered canon with the original Planet of the Apes film, because there's like 6 Planet of the Apes films from like the 60s and 70s.
6?
Because they were like, well, it's something like that. Because like the first one was so incredibly popular that they just kept making them, and they got worse and worse and worse as time went on. But then they did this one, and then they did the Rise of the Planet of the Apes trilogy. So that's all that there's been. So I would say there are 2 franchises. There's the original from the 60s, and then there's the newer ones. This one's kind of like it's in the middle.
Stepchild.
Yeah, the one that we leave in the basement because it has, I don't know, some sort of
inbreeding
going on. Or just monkeys screeching around for no reason. But let's go ahead and talk about some final thoughts for this movie. Adrian, since this is your first time watching it, what were your final thoughts for...
my final thoughts are that this should be a cult classic. I'm not sure why it's not. I get all the negative things, but I feel like, again, this is my earliest adaptation of the concept, I feel like it just has a ton of its own charm. It's trying to do its own thing. It's not trying to improve upon the previous film or replicate it. It literally took the concept and said, I'm going to make it my entire own. And I have to give it props for that. I think it got a little bit of it right. And I'm never going to fault Tim Burton or whoever does something like this for reading a script and saying, or reading a concept and going, I have a really neat idea for this. And maybe it didn't pan out to wider audiences, but I definitely think this deserves at least a little more laugh at it time than it's getting. I think people just hate on it, and I think there's something to love deep down in it.
All right. Well, with that, what's your score?
I gave this movie a 76.
Wow. Okay. All right. So, as far as my final thoughts, also, before I do that, I also want to point out the horrible, because we already talked about it with the Razzie win, the horrible sequence with Charlton Heston in the bed as he plays like Thane's father or whatever.
And he's like, what does he say? He's like, get them! Or like something like, super crazy.
Damn them all to hell!
Yeah, that's what,
And then dies. I got a quick call out for, I'm not usually a fan of the channel, but Nostalgia Critic did a video on this. And he was making fun of it, as you should. And he was talking about the sequence, and he's like, I feel like there should be a laugh track there because it's so poorly acted. And he's just like, oh, and then just dies.
It literally feels like they had filmed that scene like 30 times, and the director was like, just one more, buddy. And you got to make this one the best you've ever acted. And it's like 2 in the morning.
Died.
Yeah. And then he actually died from starvation.
But as far as my final thoughts, again, you can go on my blog and you can find it. It was, I think here, it was from the week of October 3rd, so you can check it out if you want like more of my thoughts. But as far as my final thought goes, I say unfortunately this remake goes more for spectacle than it does for smarts, which I feel like sacrifices the intention of the original film. And I think that's just not the only thing this movie gets wrong. It's just so weird or flat out bad most of the time. And in probably our biggest score differential in quite a while, I gave Planet of the Apes an 18 out of 100. I think that this
is 60-point difference?
It's something large. This
50, like 50 something.
It's numbing to me how painfully awful this movie is. But again, that's the glory of having opinions over movies. It's different every time. Now moving on to a movie where I'm pretty sure we both are going to have very similar opinions.
I'd agree.
We have Inside Out. Released in 2015, it was directed by Pete Docter and Ronnie Del Carmen and stars Amy Poehler, Bill Hader, and Louis Black. After young Riley is uprooted from her Midwest life and moved to San Francisco, her emotions, joy, fear, anger, disgust, and sadness, conflict on how to best navigate a new city, house, and school. It won an Oscar for Best Animated Feature and was nominated for Best Original Screenplay, and it's also currently number 171 on IMDb's top 250 list, as voted by fans. So, quite the difference in awards first off, 3 Razzies for Planet of the Apes and an Oscar for this one. So this was the movie that I hadn't seen before, and we had talked about it on the ones that we're ashamed that we'd never seen before. And
I'm so shocked that you have not seen it. Like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm very excited that we've finally gotten to it because that was a very shocking one.
It was weird because like it was always on my list and just never got around to it. And I think I'm not that big a fan of Amy Poehler, so I was like, I kind of can just push it off. I don't whatever. But
don't let Cassidy hear you say that.
I'll say it louder. I don't like Amy Poehler usually.
Usually. Disclaimer there at the end.
I can't even watch Parks and Recreation. I don't think she's funny.
Disrespectful.
But I do watch it though for Ron. That's why you watch the show. Anyhow, that being said, Inside Out is fantastic.
Yeah.
Like, it's, for some reason, I feel like you get the cerebral Pixar movies, and then you kind of get the more, like, not throwaway, but like the more like family-friendly-ish ones.
Like Luca.
Like Luca, Onward, Cars, things like that aren't as, like, hit you in the gut like this one or Soul. But
I would say Onward was pretty.
It got emotional towards the end.
Yeah, it definitely gets emotional.
I feel like a lot of critics overlooked that.
Yeah.
Also, it's a D&D movie, so I'm not gonna hate on it. But let's go ahead and drop a spoiler warning for Inside Out. If you want to watch it, it's a Pixar movie. It's on Disney Plus. Pretty easy if you have Disney Plus. But let's go ahead and drop spoilers. God, Pixar movies, especially these ones, tend to almost bring tears to my eyes.
They're just so good.
Like, it's just so well written, especially, oh my gosh, I'm going to completely forget his name. The imaginary friend, Bing Bong.
Jangles.
No, Bing Bong, I thought.
Oh, Jangles is the clown.
Yeah.
Bing Bong is the elephant.
Yeah. When Bing Bong is getting forgotten, that, oh boy.
You just gotta keep going, Riley. You just gotta keep going.
Take her to the moon for me. Oh boy, that line hits.
Well, because the movie spends the entire time setting up the weight of their friendship. And then it's like when you realize what Bing Bong realizes, that he can't go with her, is like heart-wrenching. You're like, because literally it's like his thoughts, you're like, oh no. And then it's just like this whole moment. Yeah, absolutely phenomenal.
That and one of my favorite parts of this movie has how everyone has the emotions inside their head. And what is incredibly, I don't know if it's like imagining something darker going on in this story, but did you notice how the lead emotion for the dad is anger and the lead emotion for the mom is sadness?
Yeah.
That's kind of heartbreaking.
Well, I think, but that's kind of right. That's Pixar. Like, they're definitely sneaking that in there for the adults taking their kids to be like, self-reflect a little bit. Like, oh, am I just angry all the time?
Or what's going on over sadness is ruining my life. Like, that was just insane. And like the depictions of everyone's different heads with the emotion towards the end too was great. The boy freaking out because he had a girl talk to him is incredibly on point. If you're someone like me who can't read signals, like, what does that mean? And then the entire brain just starts to smoke, and it's like SpongeBob where people are running around putting fires out. Go
ahead. I think this movie does a great job, though, of bringing to me a really important question, because it's actually directly called out in the film. I think like maybe 3/4 of the way through in the third act, but that. Like joy doesn't understand in the beginning why sadness exists. And then towards the end, you start, like, it teaches kids that you can't just always be happy.
Yeah.
Like, it's a balance. And I feel like it's a super important movie for children to see, because I feel like it simplifies a lot of very complex concepts into this, like, literally, right, you have 6 emotions in this movie? And it's like, 5. And it's like, who's in control right now then? Like, just like, for a kid to be able to think about it in that concept is super, super helpful. So I really like that whole, just the educational aspect of this movie as well, of teaching people, like, okay, and you can't just, like, you can't try. I mean, I don't want to, like, be a therapist. You can't try to be happy, though. Like, happiness and joy come from doing things in your life, and it's all a balance. And I just thought it was a great way to tell children that.
Yeah, and I think it's a great movie to show kids. I think they have to be a little bit older to understand
What's
a lot
happening?
Of what's going
yeah.
on. So probably in your 10s and 12s, right around there. I don't know. I don't know about development in children, but actually does, because I don't want to talk about, because there is a weak point for this movie, and I think it's something. It's gonna be weird. It's something similar to Good Will Hunting, where our main character Joy, who's arguably the main character.
Yeah, alongside Riley to an extent. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I don't like her for a lot of the movie, and I think it's because I don't know if it's supposed to be intentional, but like she's so set on being like the one in charge, and I understand what it's going for. Like she's like, I want her to be happy all the time and all this, but it gets to the point that she's like sacrificing, relationships and things like that, especially with sadness, which again is a later story point for the movie. It's just I don't want to say she's unlikable in like the first half, and it's not nearly as bad as Good Will Hunting's main character, but I think it's just it's on the verge. Like I was waiting for the moment for it to click for her, and then like especially towards the last half an hour, like I fully got into the character. So I think it's just when characters do things like that, like not reprehensible, but like just kind of off. I don't like. Maybe I don't know.
Oh, I have two things. One, I think just as most humans with like the standard chemical balance, happiness is trying to be in charge all the time. We want happiness to be in charge.
True.
Like we don't. If we're sad, we're like, "Where's joy? Like, where is that? I need joy. Let's get happy. Why can't I be happy?" I think that's I think a lot of people want joy to be in charge and be the driver. But also in a kid's mind, like I know when I was a kid, my other emotions definitely took a backseat to whatever made me happy. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Like, oh, I want that ball. That's joy telling me like, hey, let's go get that ball. So I feel like it makes sense for a kid's head that like it's all about what makes you happy. It doesn't matter what the other emotions think because I don't want them. I just want to be happy. I don't want to be mad. I don't want to be sad. When I am, all I can do is think about what's going to make me happy.
Yeah, and as someone who suffers from depression and is working through it and anxiety, I totally understand that. Like that's all I want too. But and it's not so much that I think I have the problem with. I think it's more so how the character is written. Like if
like the script and stuff. Interesting.
Like the way she acted, the way she carried herself, I think was more so what I didn't like. Maybe if it was more like a benevolent leader and like you all have your place, but I need to be the one that kind of makes the overall decisions, I would understand that. Excuse me. So maybe it's just the way the character's written, but again, it's only for like the first 45 minutes or so, and then everything starts to click for her, and that's when I started going, okay, now I like the character more. So I don't know, like maybe if it was like if they were like a sea captain or like that kind of like role, like all right, everyone, let's do this, and this, and stop pushing people away in favor of making things happy all the time, like. I don't know.
But I will say I also think, right, you're coming at it, which is fair because we are criticizing the movie, but we're coming at it from an adult's perspective of how emotions work.
Yeah.
And I think, in my head, Pixar was trying to capture that kid that's literally not thinking about balancing emotions. Like, there is no balancing to a kid. It's literally like, happiness would not.
All the time.
Yeah, happiness wouldn't be directing anger. Happiness would be ignoring anger as a kid because there is no relevance for that. So to me, I feel like it made sense in a kid's head.
No, and I agree, it makes sense. I think it's just the dialogue choices and the writing of the character itself.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, I guess I could see that.
So maybe it doesn't take away a lot of points from the movie. I'll get that very clear. It's just something that I felt needed to be called out.
Sure.
But other than that, though, it's a great movie.
I still talk with friends to this day. I still refer to them as core memories. When I remember when I have things that have impacted my life, this movie stuck with me for that sake that I still I'll be talking to my buddy Joey and I'll literally be like, "Oh, like that's a core memory for me." When they bring something up, it's like something that from a time that everything else is blurry, but I remember my dad buying me an ice cream cone at this time. Like, for some reason, that's just such a core memory. So, yeah, I think this movie's definitely influenced me for sure, just how I think about emotions and everything.
Nice. Well, I really don't have any much else to say. It's just an incredible movie. So
We'll talk about the positives. We didn't talk about any positives.
Well, pretty much all of it. I think the voice cast is incredibly well chosen. Even Amy Poehler, I feel like she does her job in this one.
Bill Hader, I think he's Fear.
Bill Hader is Fear, and then Mindy Kaling is Disgust. Lewis Black as Anger is literally the best casting decision of all time, which is just so ingenious. And then obviously, I never remember her name, but she's from The Office, and she plays Sadness.
It's whoever Phyllis is. Oh, no, Phyllis is her real name. She plays Phyllis in The Office, but Phyllis is her real name.
Oh, okay. I, mean,
I don't know her last name, though, but her name is Phyllis.
Okay, and I feel like she was a great pick for the character.
Oh my gosh, when she's just like, I don't know. It's
being
so
dragged by her foot.
So good at being sad. And I did want to, now that you've now seen this, there is the Pixar classic theory that whatever number in Soul, whatever number she was, number 23 or whatever, becomes Riley. Because this movie starts with Riley opening her eyes, and the movie ends with that same kind of opening of the eyes as someone's being born.
I mean, there's always that kind of theory.
That's the Pixar connection theory. So I just think it's cool that they could be tied together because they also feel very similar in that kind of, like you're talking about, that cerebral, like higher level concept idea. So I like to think that they're tied together. I really do. I think that makes a lot of sense.
I think whether the theory is true or not doesn't diminish the fact that both of them are excellent films, even on their own. So
yeah.
But other than that, the visuals in this movie are incredible. The islands, like, kind of are, in the background, are really cool. That literally, like, I love how Pixar does this crap. Like, the train of thought is an actual train is just ingenious. So, like, and then Richard Kind, Richard Kind is the actor that plays Bing Bong. He is just absolutely incredible in this movie. Totally.
I think if
highlight.
He adds so much weight to that character, it's crazy. The voice acting is phenomenal. It's crazy.
All around it's phenomenal. Which apparently there's a lot of guest stars in this movie. Like, did you know Flea is in this movie?
No.
Yeah, he's in the credits.
As who?
The bassist of Red Hot Chili Peppers. He was one of the police officers in the brain world. Yeah, I'm not joking with you. I'll look it up for sure right now.
How funny.
It's just one of those weird things, like, okay, apparently that person's in the movie.
That's really funny. I had no clue.
I gotta look that up to be sure real quick. Flea. Yeah, he was Mind Worker Cop Jake.
Mind Worker Cop Jake. Okay.
Also, Frank Oz, the voice of Yoda, is one of the subconscious guards.
Whoa.
Yeah, so there's a lot going on. And apparently, I didn't know this, the dad, Riley's dad, is played by Kyle MacLachlan from Twin Peaks.
Never seen Twin Peaks.
Oh, okay. I haven't seen too much with him, but I was like, he did a kids movie? All right, cool.
Cool.
But yeah, I think this movie is just all around great. Like, I can't really complain about anything except for the one complaint I had. So.
Well, cool. What'd you give it?
Well, final thought. First, I would say that Inside Out is thoughtful, emotional, funny, and incredibly imaginative. It definitely resides towards the top of Pixar's catalog for a reason. That being said, I still don't think it's as good as Soul, and I don't think it's as good as WALL-E. I think the two of them are the amount of points higher that I would put them above this movie. However, that being said, I still gave Inside Out a 95.
That's exactly what I gave Inside Out. I gave it a 95. Also, yeah, I think this movie does the same thing that Soul does and takes incredibly philosophical topics and incredibly delicate topics at times and simplifies them in a way that isn't demeaning to the severity or the weight of the topic. I think it's pretty incredible how Pixar is able to do it not only once but twice with Soul, and I consider them kind of one and the same film. Both have impacted me in more ways than one. They've stuck with me. I still reference them all the time. And yeah, so 95. Yeah, same score.
Absolutely. It's rare when that happens. You know, you think out of
we had our
points.
We had our highest gap between scores and an exact same score in the same episode.
Would you look at that?
They should make a movie about that.
Just about that one moment.
Yeah.
It's an hour and a half long, just having to do with what's the score going to be? What's it going to be? But alrighty, well, that's going to be an end for this one. Two very different movies, which seems to be our bread and butter when it comes to show and tell. But Adrian, if any of our wonderful, beautiful listeners or watchers or viewers, whatever you want to call yourselves, want to follow us online, where can they do that?
You can follow us anywhere, including here on YouTube at the Drive Back Podcast. You can hit subscribe and ring the little bell here for notifications. And you can make sure to follow us to get notified we post every Monday. You can find us on any podcasting app at the Drive Back Podcast. Make sure to follow us, again, every Monday. And then if you want to talk to us, Instagram's the best place to do it. You can find us at the Drive Back Podcast there on Instagram. And we post whenever we have new episodes. And you can comment, like, do whatever you got to do. Let us know if you like what we're reviewing. If we don't like it, you just let us know. But we love to talk to you over there. So the Drive Back Podcast, anywhere.
Absolutely. And we always love recommendations, too, because there's so many movies out there that not a lot of them come to mind. So please help us out. But as I mentioned earlier, if you want to see a couple of my reviews, I review new films that come out, as well as just movies that I watch during the week. You can go to my film blog, which is linked below. It's GarrettO'KeefeFilm.blogspot.com. And next week, we've got a First Timers, a movie that neither of us have seen. Next week is the anime film Your Name, which is currently the highest grossing movie in Japan of all time. And it was only just... when it came out, I don't remember when it came out, but it unseated Spirited Away, which is huge.
Crazy, yeah.
So we're going to be checking that out because a lot of high praise. And then the week after that, we've got a very big episode, probably the biggest franchise fever we've ever done. The week after this will be, the week after Your Name will be Star Wars.
It's actually equivalent to Fast and Furious.
It is, but in terms of nostalgia.
Yeah, in terms of the severity of it.
The severity of what we're probably going to say. It's going to be a big one. So make sure you guys follow us and subscribe and all that, and you'll be able to see that when it comes out. But other than that, that's going to be a wrap for this one. We love you so much. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. And we'll see you next time on The Drive Back.
Thank you for listening to this episode of The Drive Back. Make sure to be on the lookout for new episodes every Monday, and make sure to follow us on social media.